Good evening. The title of this evening's talk, the first talk for Heart Rewilding, is "We have Forgotten That We Are Wild." I think it's good for us to see our place in human history and in evolutionary history in general. And this really recent period from the Industrial Revolution, where around about the same time fossil fuels were discovered as an energy source, industrialization occurred, and capitalism arose. They all came together, and we've had this period of time, maybe 200, 250 years of very unusual, a very unusual experience for ourselves as humans. And it's an aberrant experience. It's not really who we are. It's separated us, not really because anyone intended it to, but the outcome has been that it has profoundly separated us in many ways from the natural world. And even if we think about the development of plantation style agriculture, maybe 10,000 years ago, even that period of time when humans started to settle and interact with the environment more as if we were the owners of the environment rather than a member of the environment, even that period of time is not very long in terms of our evolutionary history. And I think it's really important that we remember that our true nature, that our true history is actually one of being extremely harmonious and compatible with all the other plants and animals of the world, and the rocks and the minerals, the water and the gases and the fire. Sometimes people speak about us as if we are this blight on the landscape. Sometimes people speak that way. But I think that is a narrow view of humans. It's only a very recent thing that some of us have become a destructive force. And of course, there's people who have maintained a harmonious and beautifully intimate relationship with the environment. They've maintained it all the way through this whole period of time, since the beginning of agriculture, that maintained a type of agriculture or a type of way of living with the landscape and harvesting food from the landscape that was much more harmonious. So it's really important that we respect those people, those cultures that haven't been doing what modern capitalist society has been doing. And they're humans, and we're humans too, and they're closer to, I think, what we really are. There's a few things that I thought it'd be nice to read. One is from Thich Nhat Hanh's most recent book. It's just come out, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet. He's been a environmental activist as well as a Zen monk for a long time. So there's a section called Who Am I? I am the continuation of my parents. I am the continuation of my ancestors. This is very clear. I do not have a separate self. Looking into myself, I see my father, my mother, in every cell of my body. I see my ancestors in every cell of my body. I see my country, my people, in every cell of my body. I can see that I am made of many elements that can be described as non-me elements. I am made of non-me elements, and when these elements come together, they produce me. So I am that. I do not have a separate existence. I do not have a separate self. This is right view. Seeing reality in this way, you are no longer lonely because you are the cosmos. You have this body, but you have a cosmic body. The whole cosmos can be found in you. You have a cosmic body right here and right now, and you can talk to the cosmos in you. You can talk to your father in you, your mother in you, your ancestors in you. You are made of non-you elements. You are the continuation of parents, ancestors, stars, moon, sun, rivers, mountains. Everything is in you. So you can talk to them and you can know that you are the world. You are the cosmos. And this can be seen with meditation. When you are concentrated, you begin to see. And then he gives a lovely analogy. Suppose a wave on the ocean asks herself, "Who am I?" If the wave has some time to get in touch with herself, she will see that she is the ocean. She is a wave, but she is at the same time the ocean. And she is not only this wave, but she is the other waves also. She sees the connectedness, the interbeing nature between her and the other waves, and she no longer discriminates between self and non-self. It's very important that the wave realizes that she has a wave body, but she also has an ocean body. When the wave recognizes her ocean body, she loses all kind of fear and discrimination. And I think that we can really feel the truth of this through something incredibly simple, and yet we don't do it very much. And in a way, it's what Mavanwi was leading us through in the guided meditation, and that is to bring our attention just to the present, just to the present moment. And we have so much of the natural world around us right where we are. And in places like Canberra, it's just everywhere. It's a wonderful city that way. There's so much nature in the city. But we don't have to go far. We can just turn our eyes towards seeing the leaves on the trees, seeing the clouds in the sky, seeing the birds flying by. And if we're indoors, we can look at the objects in our space and see how they are made of elements. And not look at it and think about it, but just wholeheartedly be with it. It's a kind of a slowing down, slowing our intellect down, and just experiencing with our eyes this tabletop, this couch, this cup. Like for example, this cup. You can just look at this cup and just gently be aware that it's made of clay. It's just pretty amazing. And just take that time to do that. And with our ears, we can just take time to hear the sound of the wind in the leaves. Hear the sound of a bird. Hear the sound of traffic or white noise or of people talking. But particularly in this context, to hear the sounds of our brothers and sisters in the natural world, to hear the sound of the wind, to hear the sound of the rustling of the leaves, to hear the birds, barking of a dog. And to feel it on our skin, to step out of the buildings which keep us so separate, to step out of the buildings and feel the sun on our skin, and not feel it sort of absent-mindedly, but really notice it. Oh, the sun is shining and I can feel the heat on my skin. And just to let ourselves enjoy that experience. And the smells. At the moment, there's so many smells related to all the nectar in the flowers. You just walk along and then one smell after the other. Thinking about maybe how the bees are collecting the nectar and turning it into honey. There's something incredibly nourishing for us when we just let ourselves slow down and connect with whatever is in front of us. We don't have to really seek it out, but just be with it, wholeheartedly be with it. I think we are so accustomed to thinking about things, thinking about the future and thinking about the past and thinking about concepts. It's our natural mind's job, just like our eyes see, our mind thinks, as Mavamwi said. We can just pause and feel. I think this is what our ancestors, our evolutionary ancestors, did, and what people who still are living harmoniously with nature do. They spend time just being in the spaces, being in spaces, natural spaces, and not feeling separate from them, just being immersed in them as them. There's another book here called The Mushroom at the End of the World. Such a great title. On the possibility of life in capitalist ruins. So I guess I haven't read the whole book, but I guess it's kind of saying that the mushroom is going to keep on being there. After all the hubris kind of falls away, the mushroom will keep on doing its thing. By Anna Lowenhart Singh. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. And she says, What do you do? What do you do when your world starts to fall apart? I go for a walk, and if I'm really lucky, I find mushrooms. Mushrooms pull me back into my senses, not just like flowers through their riotous colours and smells, but because they pop up unexpectedly, reminding me of the good fortune of just happening to be there. Then I know that there are still pleasures amidst the terrors of indeterminacy. Terrors, of course, there are, and not just for me. The world's climate is going haywire, and industrial progress has proved much more deadly to life on Earth than anyone imagined a century ago. The economy is no longer a source of growth or optimism. Any of our jobs could disappear in the next economic crisis. And it's not just that I might fear a spurt of new disasters. I find myself without the handrails of stories that tell me where everyone is going and also why. Precarity once seemed the fate of the less fortunate, but now it seems that all our lives are precarious. So just the way that someone such as Anna, the author of this book, who is aware of many of the terrible things that are happening on the earth, that she can step out and just walk and see mushrooms and feel the joy of that. Feel the joy of that. It's very nourishing for us to do that. And I think it's important that we keep on doing that and that we try to find ways to do it more. Just walking in the suburbs, or walking out to the edge of suburbs, or finding those spaces, the sort of the spaces between that haven't been manicured. They're kind of forgotten spaces. They're very interesting, where the grass grows a bit too long and there's various weeds and broken bits of this and that. They're good spaces just to hang out in and see what nature does when she's not being too disturbed by us. And I think that spending time in nature and placing ourselves within it, like not observing it as a separate person, but seeing ourselves in it, being a part of it, feeling intimate with it. There's something sacred just in doing that. And I'm not exactly sure how that works, but there's a sense that because we do know that the earth is being damaged and that ecosystems are disappearing, it's important to honor the ones that are still here and witness them. Just witness them, honor them, and appreciate them. I think maybe we would feel that ourselves if we knew that we were going to pass soon. We'd want someone to just come and see us and say hello and talk to us and hear us and validate our existence, even if it wasn't going to mean we were going to live any longer. It's just a sort of a validation, a relational, something relational. We are relational beings. Everything on the earth is relational, actually. And so for us to be relational with the natural environment, there seems to be something very right about just doing that. So we can do that, and it's not a waste of time to do that. There's something sacred about doing that. There's another quote here from Thich Nhat Hanh on a chapter called Deep Ecology. We know that Homo sapiens is a very young species on Earth. We arrived very late, and yet we behave as if we're the boss here. We believe ourselves to be exceptional. We think we have a right over everything else and every other species, as though they have been created for us. With this view, we have done a lot of damage to the earth. We want safety, prosperity, and happiness for humans at the expense sometimes of everything else. And yet, looking deeply, we see that humans are only made of non-human elements, including plants, animals, and minerals. Not only historically, but in this very moment, we continue to interbe with all the non-human elements within us and around us. It's very clear. Without minerals, plants, and animals, how can there be human beings? If you remove or return all of these elements, a human being cannot exist anymore. And yet we seem to protect and defend ourselves by destroying our non-us elements, including other species. Human is present in all things, and all things are present in human. There is a mountain in us, do you see? There are clouds in us, do you see? It's not only that we were a cloud or a rock in the past, but we are still a cloud and a rock today. In former times, we were also a fish, a bird, a reptile. We are a human being, yes, but at the same time, we are everything. Seeing this, we know that to preserve other species is to preserve ourselves. This is into being the deepest teaching of deep ecology. And I think part of what Mavanwi's been thinking about with Heart Rewilding is to create opportunities for us to feel that sense of ourselves being part of the natural world and to experience the nourishment and the energy and the vitality and the joy that that gives us. And I think joy is really important right now because those of us that are aware of what's happening with climate change, it's easy to maybe lose some joy in the face of the knowledge. But the joy is so important, and the joy is worth having, and it's right to be joyful. And all these little creatures can give us that joy, and we can give joy to them by simply witnessing their existence. Somehow we can do that.